Right, so we're back with Blade of Fury from 1993, directed by Sammo Hung. This is a movie that, again, just stumbled upon. I was looking for stuff, and obviously I found this, and directed by Sammo Hung, choreographed by Sammo. Sammo also does have a cameo appearance, and he makes it on the poster. But Cynthia Khan as well. It was. I think this is the only time that Cynthia Khan has worked with Samo. So I really like Cynthia Khan a lot, and I'm trying to find out more of her films. Of course, mainly just seeing the In the Line of Duty stuff. Obviously the fourth, the fifth, and then I went straight to the seventh one, the Sea Wolves. I have managed to track down five and six through Far East Flicks, so I've got those on the way. But yeah, this just got here a couple of days ago. I just finished watching it earlier today. Um, it's a release from the Warner Archive collection. It's a bare bones thing. It's just the film and nothing else. Region 3 disc, and honestly though, it's the picture and sound. It's solid. Um, but I really enjoyed this. I didn't read into it much before watching it. Basically, it's a period piece, which again, that was a bit of a novelty for me, seeing Cynthia Khan in a period piece after seeing her, as like a Hong Kong cop in so many movies. Um, and then obviously we've got some really cool people in this as well as Samo and Cynthia. We've got Rosamund Kwan, obviously she's in here. We've got T Lung, who is great. He's got such a wonderful. He's kind of like the veteran actor of the piece. And he's got such a wonderful presence, and he's kind of like he has a really lovely chemistry with Cynthia Khan because she's kind of like she's kind of like his right hand, you know. So she's very she's kind of like very devoted to him, you know. So obviously, when things escalate, of course, this is kind of like it's based on true historical events, kind of like revolutionaries. They basically they're not liking the way that China's going. Obviously, they want to, put the foot down and change things for the better. So obviously, one of the key revolutionary figures in this is played by T Lung's character, and then obviously, when things come to a head later on in the film, obviously Cynthia Khan, she's right there with them. Of course, we've got Colin Chow, who basically he's very good in this. Basically, he's kind of someone who he's like a young martial arts student who basically sees the good that the revolutionaries are doing and wants to join their cause. He does really good. Young Fan, who plays our main character, he's good. Do you know what? This is an actor I hadn't really seen in a lot, and I had a look on his IMDb. I don't think he's done a lot, really. You see this so often, like these actors who, I suppose, not unlike Cynthia Khan, they come along and they do some stuff, but then they don't necessarily have the longevity, so they end up leaving the industry very early. And I think this is kind of what's gone on here. But he's very good. He's got a really good presence. It's that thing we've seen before, of course, like the stoic martial artist, the martial arts teacher, martial arts master. But he's got a great presence, and again, a very formidable martial artist. And again, there's a blend of stuff in this. There's hand-to-hand stuff. There's a real great sequence where we have a tournament, and that's really well done. But you get a mixture of hand-to-hand stuff, weapons, swords, spears, things like that. It's all very well done. The choreography in this is first class. There is a significant amount of wire work. Now, I'm someone who can be hit and miss with the wire stuff, but that aside, there's a lot of like straight up really good choreography as well as aside from the wire work. Um, there's a great blend of stuff here, and also the way that they shoot a lot of the stuff. Again, well, you can't have one without the other. There's knowing how to do the action, which is great, but then you also need a team who knows how to capture the action on film as well, and having one without the other's no good. But of course, when you've got Sammo Hung at the helm, you know you're in good hands. But yeah, a film just over an hour 40, an hour 45 there or thereabouts with credits. So not an overlong film. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's got a wonderful pace to it. And again, essentially what this is. It's a revolutionary story. You know, there's some intrigue. There's some double crossing. You know, there's people who present themselves initially one way and then ulterior motives, all of that good stuff. But it's good, and you know, there's a certain feel good element as well, and also there's a lot. Our core characters, because it is something of an ensemble piece. Like obviously, you know, our main character is, you know, Young Fan. But then, of course, when you got Cynthia Khan and T. Long and Colin Chow, and then a couple of others thrown into the Rosamund Kwan, it is something of an ensemble. And then, of course, the little part with Sammo, he kind of, in as we get into the second half, he shows up he plays a prison guard and has a real cool fight sequence. Great. It's always nice to see him on camera, even though we know he's behind the camera as well. It's always nice to see him in like something like, I suppose when you contrast it with something like the Moon Warriors, you know, where he's purely behind the camera, it would have been nice to see him, you know, because like even something like Mr. Nice Guy, you know, we get that great sequence where he shows up as that poor cyclist who's minding his own business, and then he just gets caught up in all this. But yeah, so it was nice to see Sammo do a little bit in this, but I really liked it. And again, this is one of those as well. Obviously, we've got this. It's solid. It does the job. But I would love to see this get picked up. Whether it's 88, whether it's Eureka, one of those guys. Can we get a Blu-ray release for this? I need more Cynthia Khan in my life. I do. And obviously this is a great step in that direction. Obviously we need the rest of the In the Line of Duty films, but this would be great. It's cool. It's her character in this as well, because a lot of the times, you know, when she's in the Line of Duty films, she's kind of like, you know, she's got basically the same. You know, it's the same character. Often it's the same sort of stuff she's doing. And then when you look at something like when she shows up in Tiger Cage 2, obviously she's it's a special appearance. She's in a handful of scenes, but again, it's one of those where she's just used she's used with basically full utility. She's there to tie up a couple of loose ends, and then she's out of the picture. You know, I suppose I'm just trying to think like. There's a lot of stuff that she has done that hasn't been released. Of course, the films that she's been in with Moon Lee and Yukari Oshima. And then I think there's a couple of other period things she did. Dead End of Besiegers, that rings a bell. And again, I've seen some promo shots. She looks gorgeous in that. So can we get that, please? I mean, this is one of the things, because for most of this film, she's kind of like because T. Lung, he's a government official, and she being his like right hand, she's kind of dressed much the same way, you know, very done up, very proper. But then as we get into like towards the final act, she comes in and she's got the hair down, and it's like it's a good look. I like Cynthia Khan, I really do, and again, she's a really really solid martial artist, and she does get some great action sequences in this. Again, it's not fair to put her in this. I mean, she was Michelle Yeoh's replacement, and this was the thing. She's kind of like a byproduct, isn't she? Horrible thing to say, but obviously, she came in to replace Michelle Yeoh when Michelle Yeoh retired for 5 minutes, getting married to Dixon Poon. And fair enough, Cynthia Khan's not on the same level in terms of the stuff that she can do. Even like when you compare it to Moon Lee, of course, Moon Lee will always be god tier after the fight that she had with Yukari Oshima at the end of Iron Angels. Holy Moses, it's a brawl for the ages, that. And even her whole action sequence at the end of Iron Angels 2, holy Christ. You talk about one man army fighting off the world. Oh yeah, she'll just take on multiple opponents. You just keep setting them up. She'll keep knocking them down. But again, yeah, fair enough. Cynthia Khan's not on that level, but she is great in her own way. But yeah, she gets plenty of chance to shine. They all do. They all do. Even like the villainous characters. I mean, maybe like because obviously, yeah, Samo is a special appearance. Rosamund Kwan, she kind of falls into that same sort of category. Granted, she's in the movie significantly more than Samo is, but Rosamund Kwan, she's used very sparingly. I'm just trying to think, like, in terms of characters that maybe as good as it was to see Colin Chow, and obviously we know the good stuff that he's gone on to. Obviously worked a lot with Donnie Yen and Jet Li as well. But obviously we get a very young Colin Chow. Colin Chu. Apologies for the pronunciation, of course. But yeah, he kind of, he's kind of like, yeah, maybe you might have liked to have seen more from him. But it's very, very good. I like this a lot, and you can kind of, in terms of the ending, so there's comparisons, I suppose, that you could draw with Fist of Fury. I think that's fair. And again, I suppose well, Fist of Fury, that kind of has elements of a revolutionary story, I suppose. So, Blade of Fury, Fist of Fury, maybe spiritual companion pieces. But yeah, I really like this, and again, if it's one that I just stumbled on by chance, just again browsing through, saying, "Oh, Cynthia Khan, Sammo Hung, let's go." But yeah, I would love to see this get some kind of restoration treatment. And again, I'd love to hear people's thoughts on this one. It's a pleasant surprise. It's a breath of fresh air. When you go into it and you think, well, I'm going to keep note in mind, hope it's good, but but honestly, pleasantly surprised, and really, really great choreography as well. Because there's always, when you go into these films, there's always a certain level of quality that you're going to expect when it comes to the fight sequences. But honestly, yeah, I was really pleased, and that was a real standout, that chunk of the movie that takes place maybe around the halfway mark, which is dedicated to this tournament that takes place. I was like, yeah, this is really, really well done. And again, this is what you get when you just let Sammo do his thing. But yeah, so this was Blade of Fury. Really, really cool martial arts movie, and again, it's kind of like one of those throwbacks that were coming out in the early 90s. Of course, you had like Tai Chi Master and Wing Chun, and obviously you had Jackie doing his bit, didn't you, with Legend of the Drunken Master, and then of course you got like Moon Warriors and Blade of Fury and a couple of others. Well, there was a lot of others. Butterfly and Sword, I suppose. There's another one. But yeah, this is lovely. So maybe next one to start tracking down is Dead End of Besiegers. That would be great. That wraps this up. Thank you for indulging me. Again, just wanted to talk free form about this. just share again, just a total surprise. If you haven't seen this one, might be worth tracking down. Obviously, this it's still relatively easy to get hold of. You know, the Warner Archive stuff is still relatively easy. Unfortunately, like I say, it is just available on this basically bare bones region free DVD. But he is hoping that something will come along in the future. I mean, obviously, they've been going back in 88 Films and Arrow and Eureka. They've been going back and doing re-releases of stuff that they've already released, like a lot of the Jackie stuff and things like that. But it would be nice if they were looking for new titles to pick up. To prime candidate right here. But anyway, that wraps this up. I hope you've enjoyed listening to me talk about this. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. And again, check it out. It's really fun. Even though even though it has a tragic element to it, it's a fun movie all the same. Anyway, that wraps this up. Thank you for listening to me ramble, and I will see you all in the next one whenever it comes along. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.